Hi, everybody. I want to say good morning or good afternoon or good evening, but I have no idea when you'll get the chance to listen to this. So I'll just say good day and hope that you're having a good day and a good week. And I want to just thank you for the opportunity of sharing with you in this way and taking this time. And I hope just to take a few minutes here today to give you a bit of an update. This past weekend, I shared with you about some changes coming here at Ephrata Community Church. Honestly, our weekend services are very, very special to me. There's nothing quite like the corporate gathering of the body of Christ. And I'm not going to go into teaching, about that or why that's so important. But I really love to reserve what happens on the weekend to the fellowship of the saints, people being together, sharing together, the worship and the word. And so we really do limit and try to keep all the energy that's going on in our weekend services focused around those things, which is why we don't go through a whole long list of announcements, and sometimes we'll give you a bit of an update, but we try to do that in a different venue as a way of honoring and respecting our weekend services and all that God's doing through that. So thank you for taking the extra time to tune in, so you can hear about a few things happening here. This past weekend, I shared just briefly about some adjustments that we are making here at Ephrata Community Church as we are moving towards what I would call a post-COVID environment. And it's been quite a year. I don't need to tell you that. You hear that too much anyhow. But we've tried to manage during this time with several things that were in tension with each other and trying to manage a balance between all of that. I'm going to remind you of what those 5 things were. We've talked about them in various times, but just to remind you, first of all, COVID is real. And so it's an unusual thing. It's a global pandemic. It's significant. As you know, we've had significant loss here at Ephrata Community Church with a few people that we've lost to COVID-19, and so we want to take that seriously. Secondly, another part of that tension was that we want to honor our government, and so I know, my goodness, there's been lots of tension around governments and mandates, and I share those concerns with you as well. But the thing is, the biblical requirements to honor government were written in times that were far worse than what we've experienced in the past year. I mean, this past year has been difficult and challenging for us, but that does not give us the right to, negate and disregard government mandates. And so we wanted to be respectful towards that. We wanted to consider our community witness. It didn't seem right, when it comes to the community that we serve in, to ignore some things that we should have been doing. But then a couple of things also that were very, very important to us, and that is the spiritual well-being of people. We're pastors, so we want to care for the congregation, and we realize that part of caring for the congregation is the mandate to gather together and be together. And so we want to honor government mandates as much as we can, but then we also want to honor biblical mandates, and so that was part of it. And then finally, there was, we believe that God creates each one of us with a level of autonomy, like make your own decisions. So all of that kind of came together to say, as we gathered last May, in the midst of a COVID-19 predicament, that we're going to do multiple services so we don't pack the building out with 1,000 people at one time. We're going to do things online. We're going to do all of our services are going to be online at a sense of convenience for you. And so you can gather together as a family. You can gather together as a house church. You can come to one of our meetings. So we did all that, and you're aware of that. I'm not going to review all of that as well. But over the course of that past year, our desire has been able to say, okay, what's a common sense approach to what we're dealing with, both as a congregation, as a community? And we did that to the best of our ability. And so in all of that, by about a month to 6 weeks ago, maybe even 2 months ago, I began to think about, okay, it's time to move on from this. We do have a vaccine. And again, we leave you with that autonomy to decide whether the vaccine is right for you. I do believe it's basically an individual decision. You need to consider your health and your place of what do I feel like I need to do what God's asked me to do. And so for many people, that is, yep, I'm getting the vaccine. For other people, it's been like, hey, I'm just going to wait this out a little bit. That's your decision, but it's available to you if you want it. And so we just felt like it's time for us to move on and plan on that. So we began thinking about what's it look like to declare an end to the accommodations that we've made for COVID-19 and really move forward as a congregation. And that's what I'm going to be sharing with you now, at this point. But before I even do that, I just want to say a special thank you to the congregation of Ephrata Community Church. I feel like you have been gracious through this process. I feel like, many of you have served over and above, as we started 4 live services and 2 online services. Many of you stepped in to serve in various ways. And you were also, I think you took it with a sense of responsibility. Each weekend we would get some calls, hey, I was exposed to COVID-19, or I tested positive, and so I can't be there, or I have these symptoms, and so I shouldn't be there. And you took a level of responsibility that actually prevented Ephrata Community Church from really being a spreader event. And you were so wise about that. And in the same way, just wise when you needed to step out, of course, then there's people that need to step in. And many of you have stepped in at the last minute. And I'm so grateful for the way that you helped us manage and navigate this season that we are in. I'm very, very grateful for that. But on the weekend of June 12 and 13, we are making a bit of a shift, and basically all remaining COVID accommodations will be shifting away between now and then. In other words, people in our cafe will not be required to wear a mask any longer. There will be no mask required service. That was happening on Saturday nights in Auditorium B. That's come to a close. And so all that's finally remained is going to be moving differently. On the weekend of June 12 and 13, we'll be having 2 weekend services, and that'll be on Saturday night at 6 p.m. and Sunday morning at 10 a.m. And that returns to the paradigm that we had before we had to make the accommodations for COVID. And the reason for that, the decision that we would have made a year and a half ago to have those 2 weekend services is, it's a forward-going vision that we as Ephrata Community Church, we're meeting here in Clay Township. People come from all over to come be part of our weekend services. But ultimately, our vision is not to be a gathering congregation, but we want to be a sending congregation. And so we didn't want to, even going back a year and a half ago, we didn't just simply want to add weekend services to fill this building up. But for us in this building and at this location, how can we support house churches, community congregations that would be meeting in various places? And so we're returning to that vision, that how can we be a sending congregation? Not that there's anything wrong with gathering, but how can we be a place that gathers here for the purpose of sending out? And you'll be hearing more about that through the summertime. But I want you to know that it's about forward-going vision and returning to that place of okay, COVID's over, and so we're about the advancement of the kingdom of God, and how do we do that, and how do we facilitate that moving forward as well? A couple of things about that weekend. One of the things that we've done over the course of the past year is that we've broadcast all 3 of the weekend services, and that's simply because it was helpful for you to stay in that kind of routine. So if you're regularly a Saturday night person, then we want you to go to church at home or wherever on Saturday night. Beginning that weekend, we're going to be broadcasting 1 service. That's going to be Sunday at 10 o'clock, which is what we were doing before. And again, it's a way of consolidating the strength that we have and the resources that we have to do the best that we can do. Really, all of our serve teams have been spread thin for the past year. Kids ministry, cafe, welcome center, ushers, greeters, audio visual lighting, worship. It's been a lot to do, and normally under normal conditions, if we were launching an additional service, we would take 8 to 9 or more months to plan that. And a year ago, the team did it in the course of about 3 or 4 weeks. And so that's pretty amazing when you think about what was there, but we got spread very thin in that process, and it's time to consolidate that energy and push it in the right direction for forward-going vision. And so thank you for that. Feel free to let us know questions that you have, or even with specific team leads. Feel free to be in touch with them about questions and what that looks like. But you'll be hearing from team leads, if you're not already have, about some changes that we need to make with serve teams. And we are looking forward to making that move for going forward. And so again, appreciating your accommodations in this critical season that we have been in. 3 more things I want to mention to you, none of which will take nearly that long. Just something I want you to be aware of. First of all, we have heard from our friends in India and you probably have heard as well of the significant challenges that, honestly, from what I'm hearing, we can't even comprehend what life is like there. And Pastor Glory Das with Jesus Home Mercy Association in southern India have really faced, it's a rural area where medical supplies and that is just very limited. And so they've been especially vulnerable in this season that they're in, and they're asking for help. They're asking for help to be able to support pastors and to be able to support the ministry. And they're in a place that I can't even imagine specifically around that. So I would just simply send an appeal to you that, it could be that you might be getting a stimulus check, that you can donate half or all of that. And I would encourage you to give towards that COVID fund that we have here. You can do that through the website, or even just let us know that by indicate that on an offering envelope or whatever, but we already have one. But I would make a special appeal specifically to how we can help India. And if you want to give to that, just simply give through that COVID fund, and you can earmark it for India, and we will get it to them to help resource them as much as possible. I mean, it's actually so challenging. I don't want to go into some of the details about some of the things that they're doing. I mean, this is everything from providing caskets for pastors that have no money, and just the losses there is just overwhelming. And so appreciate your consideration concerning all of that. Two more things I want to mention to you. One is you've been hearing about the counseling center, and so I want to just announce, and I'll do this publicly when we get closer to it, but during the month of July, Lauren Patches and Mike Wanger will be joining our team specifically for the purpose of launching the counseling center. And so they'll be responsible for getting things in place and organizing. There'll be a lot happening with that, but I want you to know that there's forward-going vision concerning that. And then the second, or the final thing I wanted to mention to you as well is Ashland, Pennsylvania. You've been hearing in an earlier update this year of our connection with Ashland, Pennsylvania, and some of the things that God may be calling us to do there. And we are very grateful to partner with some folks that are there. Many of you know Jim Horning, of course, with Crossfire Youth Ministry. You've heard me talk about Paul Eby, who was pastor of the Restoration Ministries Church, which is in Shamokin. And we're working with them. We helped purchase some land there for the church that was formerly owned by an abortion clinic. There's an amazing story around all of that. But what I want to go to for the sake of our time together today is we are planning a week-long service project in Ashland, Pennsylvania. It's July 6th through 9th. It's going to be led by our student ministry, and they're going to be actually staying there on site and doing ministry through the week, doing different service projects, cleaning up, painting, and doing various things there. In the evenings, there's going to be worship nights through that, in which there'll be specifically a call for ministry and an opportunity to minister to the community, leading into the support of almost like a street fair that's going to be happening on Saturday. That will be July the 10th. A Saturday on which we're going to be working with and supporting the Restorations Ministry Church as they do a street fair there as well. So more details are going to be coming on that, but I want you to have those dates in the meantime so that you can be thinking about being a part of that. Beyond that time, we would look for some ongoing ministry opportunities, even specifically when it comes to children. So if you have a heart to minister to children in that area, let us know that, and we can work on a team that would be providing ongoing ministry to children beyond that week of July 5th to 9th, or I'm sorry, 6th to 9th. Anyhow, thank you for taking this 15 minutes or so and tuning in to hear some updates. Again, I kind of because of the sacredness of our weekend gatherings and the significance of our weekend gatherings, I don't like to take too much time. At the same time, this is very important to be informed. I'd encourage you to continue to look at the e-news. It comes out on every single Thursday. Take that consistently. There's all kinds of announcements that come your direction through that source. And so if you're not getting that, please let us know that so we can make sure that we have your email straight and all of that. And again, thanks for joining us today, whatever part of the day it is for you or whatever day it is. And we'll look forward to seeing you this weekend. Loving this series on the work of the Holy Spirit, and God's going to be doing some amazing things. And so we'll look forward to having you be a part of that. Thank you.